My father is the kind of person who eats, sleeps, breathes design.
So it's all consuming.
It's all
the time.
consuming, but in a good way, you know?
Do all your spouses have a support group?
I think they have each other, actually.
Okay, yeah. Because I can start one and sort of have a weekly session. Welcome to the Lighthouse Conversations, a podcast featuring entrepreneurs and tastemakers from the world of arts, culture, tech, and of course food. I'm your host, Hashem. I'm joined today on the show by the family behind Nakkash Gallery, Wajih Nakkash, who founded the business 40 years ago, and his two children, Aya and Omar, who form the second generation of the family business. The last time I had multiple guests on the same show was in October last year, when I spoke to Huda Baroudi and Maria Hibri, the founders of Boksha. It was such an exhilarating experience and also a slow descent into organized chaos in the most hilarious and positive of ways. So it made total sense for me to try that again. This time, not 2, but 3. If you haven't already, you should listen to that episode via the link in our show notes or on your podcast app. It's a remarkable story of two highly gifted women entrepreneurs that are essentially joined by the hip. While you're there, hit the follow button to get notified when we have new episodes every other week. I first checked out Nakkash Gallery when they emerged as our neighbors in Dubai Design District in the early days of D3. So I'm excited to dig into their views today. What makes for good design? What is the interaction between art and design? How do you monetize good design? And perhaps most importantly, to better understand the intergenerational family dynamic and how they're preparing a transition into a more digital world. Welcome, Nakkash family. We're very pleased to have you here. This is a first of having 3 guests as on the podcast. Also 3 related guests, to put it very mildly. Maybe you can we usually don't do this, but we'll do a very quick introduction as to who's who, so not to confuse the audience, and they will then know you by your voice.
Okay. First of all, Hashem, thank you very much for having us. Really,
Great pleasure.
It is a great experience
Thank
to
you.
be in your interesting program.
You might regret this في الآخر, but let's just
We'll
see.
see. We'll
Thank
see.
you. I'll take it now.
Wait and see. Wait and see.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'm the father.
And these are your 2
Nakkash.
children.
Yes. Shall I tell my
Please.
age?
Sure. Go for it.
I am almost 75 years.
And I'm 49, so
Okay,
we're going to
okay.
age.
But don't
mashallah.
tell anybody, huh?
La,
Hashem?
la,
Don't
khalas,
tell anybody.
I won't.
Okay, I'm the father of Aya and Karim and Omar. Aya and Omar. Both of them are in the same business. Karim, he's the oldest. He's in the banking business.
Does it have to do with being the oldest? Because the oldest usually feels the brunt of the parents' ambitions and I was like, Lala, I'm out of here. I don't want to do, or he was never interested in art and design.
Yes, he's in the banking, counting money.
Okay.
So
Good for him. Did you start the business?
yes.
Okay.
Actually, I came here to Dubai by chance on the 77. My brother-in-law, he's a diplomat. He had in a conference in Abu Dhabi, he said, I'm going to Abu Dhabi. Why not come with me? Because, in that time, the civil war in Beirut was a very critical situation. I just graduated from Italy. First, I have done my architecture degree in Beirut, in Institut de Beaux-Arts, and after the interior design in Florence. So I said, where is Abu Dhabi? I opened the atlas to see where is Abu Dhabi.
صح.
After 1 week, he finished his conference and he wanted to go back. I said, I will stay because no way to go back to Beirut on that with this situation. Let me try my chance here. By chance, I find one company. I joined them for almost 8 months.
Okay. As an architect.
As an architect. After that, I said, let me do my own office, let's say.
But is it, after 8 months in a new country where you don't really have a network, what made you have the courage to start your own office? You wanted to be independent, or because you didn't have other opportunities?
I have seen some opportunity.
Okay.
I rent a small apartment, office and apartment on the same time. And I start with one draftsman. On that time, there is no interior design in that at all. So they start people asking, okay, I have a villa, let's do the interior, let's do some
Yeah.
modification. And I start like this. And later I find out there is no showroom. There is no nice furniture. On that time, all the furniture, it was in very classical, the Barocco style,
Yeah.
the polyester finish, the gold, the velvet,
I definitely know.
I'll try to introduce the new, let's say, new style, new modern, new
Contemporary, modern.
contemporary. Contemporary, on that time, it was really difficult
صح.
to understand contemporary. Later on, after a couple of years, I said, I have to have some area to display something, to have it like a big catalog, so people, they can come and see what can I do, what style I have.
You open it in Sharjah or here?
I opened it in Sharjah.
Okay. What year was that?
83, 84. And I still remember my first client in Abu Dhabi, a couple, a local couple, but a little bit avant-garde. They came to Sharjah that time to spend their weekend in the Marbella Club.
Well, Sharjah was avant-garde.
Yes.
Compared to the rest of...
Marbella Club, the Spanish Marbella Club, it was on that time really something. And by chance, they were walking near my showroom and liked the display. And they said, we liked what they have seen, and we are building a villa in Abu Dhabi. So let's see how we can collaborate. And the client, he was a collector of Orientalist painting, especially in paint. So I think this is when you have a client who knows exactly what you want, the project, it's very easy to do something really nice.
When you open the gallery, is typically the idea that you would do all the interior design and the furniture? Is it one or the other? Are you indifferent? What was, or did it just evolve?
Well, the villa, it was under construction.
Okay.
So I start with them from the beginning.
Okay.
We study the interior architecture.
Okay.
We select all the material, all the color palette, everything. And after we furnished, even to the small accessories. That's why
everything. So this is like a turnkey.
Yes, turnkey job.
And is this the way you still prefer to work today, if you had the option?
Yes.
Okay.
We do both. We do.
I know.
We do both. But I think the best project it will be if you started from the beginning.
Where do you find generally more demand? Is it on the design, interior design side, or on the let's call it retail furniture?
No, on that time for the interior design.
Interior design. And today is still the case?
Of course, but on that time more interior design, because everybody wants to build new houses, new villas.
And there were very few interior designers to start with, or none.
Very few, very. Even the showroom, I remember maybe 2 or 3 showroom in all Dubai. And of course, the other showroom, as I said, the very classical, heavy style. But the modern, it was very few.
So this brings us to an interesting question, and maybe also your children can give us their view on this. You know, actually, I still think, despite the massive development of Dubai and the UAE at large, it's still relatively limited. Yani, when we look at showrooms today, outside of the big brands that come and do their own showrooms, that's of course everywhere, but that's a very different type of value proposition. To go to a showroom that's a little bit eclectic, that has contemporary furniture and accessories mixed in, where you could maybe pick up a few pieces, but also maybe add them to, that's still something that's not there much. I don't see it much. And then I want to ask, it's a two-part question. With that is, there seems to be, at least what I've experienced here, a tension, maybe a healthy tension between collectible design, pieces that you're buying that maybe, are 1 of 5, 1 of 10, that you essentially are buying to put in your home most likely, but sort of thought more as a collectible item similar to collecting art. And then you have sort of the day-to-day design. And the market seems to be confused, or at least that's my impression, which direction to take. I think we've seen some fairs, for example, working on collectible design, including here in Dubai Design District over the years. I have found that the appetite seems limited. People that buy collectible design seem to go abroad to buy them. They don't buy it from here. So it kind of went down to become sort of more, of day-to-day approachable. I want to hear your points of view on this.
As a Nakkash Gallery or Nakkash Design Studio, we try to create an atmosphere, a lifestyle.
Sure.
So when people visit our showroom, they don't select only one piece, chairs or table. When they see the display with all the artwork and the accessories, they like
You're selling an experience.
Exactly. I'm selling a lifestyle,
Yeah.
They will buy the whole corner. For the collectible items, we have some limited editions, and we design, me and Omar, some limited edition pieces.
And you participate in the fairs as well.
Yes, and we participate. And to tell you the truth, the new generation here, they start knowing exactly what they want. They are traveling a lot. They study abroad. People, they start coming to us asking for a specific style or specific artist, So a lot of change from the time we start on that time. Dubai market, it's really improving a lot for the collectible.
It is.
Of course.
Okay.
Art
Interesting.
Dubai and Dubai Design District. And I think it's coming to that. And give them some time, it will reach the.
That's good to hear. Because it was tried maybe a decade ago, or maybe it was too early. It would be nice to try again.
But at least there is, always there is a first step.
Mazboot.
There's. I can see a very bright futures for the such kind of pieces and collectible items. Will reach maybe the Biennale in Venice or the Basel, or yes, why not?
Okay, interesting.
Why not?
I think it takes time. It takes time for the public to appreciate the craft, the limited edition aspect of design pieces specifically. I think if you go to any of the major fashion houses here in Dubai Mall, they're probably the most successful in the world. But those same people who are spending X amount on handbags and belts and shoes and stuff don't make the same association with furniture and design pieces yet. And it's something that we can't hold against them.
Sure.
Because it's a relatively young country and city. And so it just takes time. And
yeah, agreed.
But going back to the design fairs, the first Dubai Design fair.
The name changes.
The name evolved quite a lot.
Design Days and Design Fair.
Design Days, exactly. Had top-notch international galleries from Carpenter's Workshop, which is the #1 in the world.
And Nilufar.
And Nilufar Gallery based in Milan.
I remember.
And when they came, they quickly realized that the market isn't ready for it yet. And so they haven't participated since. And exactly like you said, it became more of a focus on the local and regional designers and artists, which is great because it's giving them a platform to exhibit their work.
But sorry, I think also we've seen an evolution of the visitors. We participated in these fairs since its inception. And the caliber of people that were visiting these fairs, would just walk by, stroll by, and just not even stop and appreciate or ask questions. And over the years, we've seen them evolve because they're well-traveled, they're more exposed. And these fairs are giving the people the opportunity, or it's a platform for designers to showcase their talent, but also educate the visitors about the appreciation of art and culture and craftsmanship. So now, when down the years, when we've been participating, the visitors would actually stop and ask the right questions. How was it made? Where is it made? What kind of material is it? Just, you see the appetite is growing.
No, I agree. I mean, to me, as a to some extent participant, we participate mostly on the F&B side, but I've been to every one of them since we started. It almost feels you have two fairs, You have a trade fair, which mostly focuses on furniture and other, building materials, etc. And there's a market for that, and that's important. And obviously, Dubai, especially, is a city that's being built so fast. And then you have design, and that's and it almost feels like it should be maybe not separated physically, but it's two parts. There's a trade fair, and then there's a design fair, even if it's a small, something too. I think you participate in the one in Beirut, for example, a couple of years back. Because for me as a consumer coming in, if I'm going in the mindset of a trade fair, that's one thing. If I'm going in the mindset of a design fair, that's another. So I'm going into a trade fair, I'm thinking, maybe I'll find some materials that I like for our restaurants or for my home. Maybe I'll find a new brand that produces furniture that I haven't heard of. I'm going into kind of a design fair, slightly more discerning, right? It's a bit like going to an art fair. I'm focusing on the aesthetics and the materials and something that. So they're two different things, and I understand completely why they've been put together. What, of course, we'd love to see is seeing both grow, right, in their own right. And the reason I'm asking you this is, as a family and as a group, you straddle both worlds. I mean, you have a foot in each one of these worlds, right? Which is interesting because you produce your own collectible design items and you have your own interior design shop.
Yeah, the collectible really is a passion project between father and son. And it's kind of the duality of our design. We always use two materials that complement each other, but that are different. And it was
You work together on it, on each piece?
Yeah.
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
How does that work? So I'm very interested.
It is fun.
The dynamic.
It is fun. We exchange ideas. Sometimes we agree, not agree.
Is he allowed to tell you, I don't like this, we should go in this direction, or not?
Of course.
Okay, well, you never know.
No, of course.
To be honest,
We are a team. We are not father and.
Well, yeah, exactly. I don't, okay.
But
okay.
it's interesting, honestly, from my point of view, because my education in design was very collaborative. All of our projects, senior projects, was all in groups.
Okay.
My father would tell me that it was hyper competitive and individualistic at his time.
Interesting.
And they would literally cover each other's drawings and not show each other. So
I'm totally from that generation.
yeah, exactly. So in the beginning, it was a tough mold to break.
Yeah.
But with time, I think we're able to find a good balance.
And how do you conceptualize those ideas of a new collaboration? Does either of you come up with an idea and then just maybe throw it out there and then you start working on it, or?
Yes, actually, Omar, he's very good to create story.
Okay.
He starts with the story, and little by little, we agree about the material. We make some sketches, we change it, and we change the dimension, proportion, until we'll finalize the final design.
So in Italy, for example, where I did my master's in interior architecture, they really taught us that before you pick up a pencil to start sketching and drawing, you need to come up with a concept. And then everything trickles down from that concept. And that concept can be a sentence or it could be a word. And this is hence like the duality, like older generation, newer generation, two people, let's use two materials, and that's a starting point. Our suppliers as a starting point, and we try to find a balance of what's a high probability of selling. So certain pieces like consoles and sideboards are more likely to sell than sofas, for example.
Yeah, big pieces.
So it's kind of like a combination. It's like a funnel process. So we funnel all of these ideas and then come up with a design.
And did you always know that you wanted to work with your father, or did it just happen naturally? Organically.
I remember the exact moment it happened.
Okay.
But it was a natural moment. It was like, I think in the 2nd or 3rd grade, we had like a art class, and they make you paint a famous painting, and it was Van Gogh's Sunflowers. And I came home and you give it to your parents, and I give it to my parents, and I saw my dad's eyes like, he's the kid from all other kids that has some sort of artistic inclination.
Yeah.
And to be honest, since then, he was molding me and encouraging me in the right way without kind of hammering it down,
But it didn't mean that you have to work with him. You could have gone and done your own thing.
No.
So talk us through that decision. So the first decision in our class, we discovered now that you have some artistic inclination. That's great.
Yeah. So then more, sketching classes and art school and summer classes revolving around that. But to be honest, once I finished Parsons in New York, it was, let's just say it wasn't encouraged to get experience elsewhere. It was more like, if you get a job, great, but I'm not helping you get a job, even though he could have easily helped me get a job, you know?
Why was that? Did you want him to come back and work with you? You can be honest about it.
Yes,
I would love my son to work with me, but I don't think he will. I don't know. You did.
But I will not force him, to work with me.
No one said about forcing, but it's interesting because lots of us, and I'm sure you spend the majority of your time working. Big parts of your life have gone into working. Talk to me a little bit about the experience of having two of your children with you every day. I mean, it's a privilege, right? Because you're in conversation with them throughout the day, not just in the early hours of the morning, maybe before you go to work, and in the evening when you come home, which is the typical experience of most men and women that work.
Hashem, first, Omar, he was living with us, After 1 year, he came, he said, Dad, okay, I'm with you in the morning, breakfast time. I'm with you in the office.
It's a bit much.
I want to be on my own.
I work with you, either I live with you.
So this is, I think, I explained how he.
That must have been a tense conversation,
but in the office, he had his own desk, his own space, making some sketches. Come to me to discuss it, to have my opinion. We sit together. Argument, yes, we argue. It's normal, but not very often.
And it's healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, if he feels censored, and I'm going to get to Aya in a second, then I think it's very difficult to have an open dynamic. And it's interesting because if my boss is my dad, it's an extra dimension. He's not going to fire me. Well, he could, but most likely not. But then the stuff comes home as well. I mean, you don't anymore. They have their own homes. But, you come on a dinner table and this stuff is hard to just sort of say, khalas, we're out of work. Now we're going to talk about how was your day, man? You know how the day was.
Not fire him, but sometimes no bonus, huh?
Warning letter.
Yeah, warning letter. Interesting. Aya, so tell us your experience and how do you fit into this little puzzle?
So after Amma left, I still was living with my parents. And like I said, I look after the marketing, but I'm also the mediator between both. When it comes to designing together, Ammar's like, Dad's really not being flexible, like put in a good word or something. So when I go back home at the dinner table, and of course, Mom will always ask, how was your day?
Yeah.
So that's when I start, putting in the subliminal messages and saying, why don't you try to work it out like this or like that? And I think working in a family business, we all wear different hats. We have our own hats, but then also you have ownership hats, and when he first started the business, he was the only one wearing the owner hat.
Yes.
And then as the generations come, new blood comes into the business, we're getting passed down this baton. So it's kind of, you have to find the right balance between family business and then just family life.
It's very hard.
It's very hard.
It's really tough, especially at work, because when you believe in an idea or you believe in a strategy and a certain approach and you really want to fight for it, you fight for it.
Yeah.
But that may be perceived as you're being disrespectful to your father.
Yes.
Especially in our culture where
exactly. That's
the dynamics is very clear cut. So sometimes when I really believe in something, I fight for it and I get aggressive and then I go and I'm like,
you don't look aggressive to me, but okay. Yeah, it's all relative. I'll show you aggressive.
No. Let's say, it's relevant in terms of the communication style.
Yes.
And I can't talk this way to my father, but I can talk this way to my manager, to my boss. I should, if I believe in something. So it's a very fine line, and I'm very blessed to have a very sensible father.
Now that I've tested the waters of the family dynamics, expect more fireworks when we return after the short break. Welcome back. You're listening to the Lighthouse Conversations with my guest, two generations of the Nakkash family, Wajih Nakkash, and two of his children, Aya and Omar. Let's say, just take an example, we're working on something and commercially it doesn't succeed. Is Aya able to come and tell you, I told you so, I always knew this? How is the dynamic here? Does it turn into a blame game? Are you able to sit and discuss it and have an open conversation of what do we do differently next time? How does that work? Because that's obviously at the core of it. Ultimately, there's a creation process and there's a commercial process. And the reason I'm asking this is because you're sitting more on the commercial side rather than on the creative. I mean, of course, a bit of both,
yeah.
right? But ultimately, so how does that dynamic work?
I mean, we're very blessed to have an open channel of communication, whether, we don't want to get into it right now in the office and we go back home, we have family dinner and we
Is
don't.
it discussed at home as well?
So-
Work, generally?
All the
Yeah.
All the time, okay.
My father is the kind of person who eats, sleeps, breathes design passionately, whether we're on a family holiday, family dinner.
So it's all consuming.
It's all
the time.
consuming, but in a good way,
Do all your spouses have a support group?
I think they have each other actually.
Okay, I mean, because I can start one and sort of have a weekly session. I'm just joking.
It's really not what he does; it's who he is.
Yeah,
And
for me, I buy that.
It's annoying. It's in the sense where like everyone has their sphere of their life, and within this sphere you have your career, you have your podcast, you have your travel. In Wajih Nakkash's, it's design is his sphere, and everything else is in that sphere.
Because also design touches everything.
Exactly.
I can relate to that. I was a banker like Karim, your other son, counting money. I don't know how much money I counted. Yani, we counted for a little while, and then and then I moved to this business 7 years ago, and when I'm out and about, because the current business, the Lighthouse, is consumer facing, I'm always looking at that angle. And I think it is annoying for everybody around me. So it's almost impossible to sit at a restaurant and not say things like, he should really be doing it. And my wife is like, oh, there we go again. In my mind, I'm thinking, why is the supervisor not doing this? Why is if I look at the, table setup and it's very hard to not do that. In fact, you want to do that. But taban, it's hard for people around you, I think, to be constantly dealing with this side where you don't switch off really. Or do you switch off?
It's difficult for me.
Difficult, akid. That's what I mean.
Difficult.
I mean, he switches off by reading the latest AD.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's always design related. Whereas Omar will switch off by listening to, his vinyl records.
Yes.
I'll switch off by going to a yoga class or paddle. But Dad's switching off is still related to design, which is somewhat healthy, but in some certain ways,
It's all consuming for everyone.
Exactly.
How does your wife feel about this? We should have included her in our next version. We're going to bring her in because I feel like it's a missing link. Maybe her and Karim.
Yeah. We'll always will tell her, come pass by the
I'm
the
curious
showroom.
because
You'll bring us good luck.
Is your other son in Dubai as well? In the UAE?
Yes.
Your brother?
Yes.
Okay. No, because I was curious. I mean, she's probably sitting with you every day at lunch or dinner, whatever, at family gatherings. And is she an outsider? Is she an insider? Does she have a view?
No, she's definitely an insider.
Okay. Does she have a view?
She likes to have a view. She wants to have a view.
Interesting.
Have you
Okay.
met Palestinian women?
I have met your mother and I know very much. I thought so, but I wanted to ask anyway. I doubted that she didn't have a view. She has a view. She wants to be heard.
Yani, by profession, she's a dietitian, nutritionist, but she had a fashion business. So she'll say, مش بس انت وجيه عندك العين انا عندي العين. انا بفكر انه اذا بتحطها هيك كمان تطلع حلوه. Sorry, I'm speaking in Arabic.
أكيد. And how does this? That's a good. How does this translate into what you do? I mean, do you just listen to her politely, nod, and move away, or do you actually?
No,
So we
sometimes
pick
she's
our
right.
battles. We pick our battles.
Okay, you pick your battle. That's a smart way.
And if we see actually she has because when you work on it, you always want somebody else, like from an outsider's view, So we either get Karim in or our mom or another family member or friends. So, I mean, she has some wise words. So we usually do listen to her most of the time.
Let's talk a little bit about this business for you when you started. It was very much an offline business. I mean, like you said earlier, you have people coming to you. They are either going into your galleries, they know you personally, they get a contact. Today, half of the generation of definitely your kids and mine is spending the bulk of their time online. How are you translating this in terms of your business model and business plan, or are you making any adjustments?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, we started in 1983. It's 2023, so we're celebrating the 40 years of Nakkash, and what we're really excited about is the next 40 years and the future, and how to evolve the family business and how to modernize it. And one huge aspect of it is becoming an online and offline business.
Yes.
And we sell medium to high end products, so I don't think it will be its own revenue stream and people buying
No,
20,000.
it's probably not. They're not going to be buy a sofa online.
Exactly.
But there's an aspiration element to it.
And it's the first touch point of your brand, right? So you can have a further reach, and then the omni-channel approach, and have a campaign that starts online, but the objective is for them to come into the store. So that's what we're working on. And
it's very hard.
It's very hard, and it's not about adding one aspect of the business, which is the e-commerce platform. It's really about changing the entire business model.
Yes.
Of it, and the logistics and the warehousing and the marketing.
I find it very hard, and I can relate a little bit because we have a business that has several channels. Let's just say we have a concept store, the restaurant. And when I look online, every time I look at my website, I'm sort of like, I don't feel it's translating. This is not coming through. If you walk into the lighthouse, this is, but it's very hard because, to your point, Omar, when you go online, I oscillate between wanting to just create that atmosphere, the lifestyle that you talked about earlier, versus saying, I actually want to sell stuff. And I'm coming to the realization that it's most likely you're not going to be selling stuff. It's most likely very much what you said, which is a channel to create a particular feeling and experience to send customers to our physical locations. But it's very hard to create that feeling digitally. Yani when you had your gallery here, or even the one on Sheikh Zayed, you walk in, like you said earlier, you're selling lifestyle. To do that online is very hard, while still giving the consumer enough information pieces, right? Because you don't want them also just to get lost and then have no touch point with you. How do you manage that? I don't know if there's an answer, but I'm curious.
There's no right answer, but I think you have to find the right mix,
Okay.
Like Omar said, at the end of the day, the consumer still wants to come and feel, experience, the chair or the sofa he's looking to place in his space. But the first touch point is online. So maybe he'll get a better understanding. And because we are a family business, people love stories.
Yes.
So we try to translate, and that's what we're trying to do
now
with the new project that we're working on, is translate our family values into this family business that will eventually speak to customers.
The project being your online presence.
Yeah.
Our online presence.
Nakkash 2.0.
Okay.
Is what it is.
Okay.
And honestly, I think.
So talk to us a little bit about this. So Nakkash 2.0 بمعنى your online presence having the storytelling element.
So really, it all started in COVID, when we were forced to shut down for 2 months.
Sure.
And we had all this time in our hands. And so we called it Project Restart. And we said, if Nakkash was to restart as a brand today, what would its vision be, mission be, positioning be? And that's how it started, as a family conversation. And it turned out to be like, okay, we really need to evolve this brand. We need to remain relevant. We need to refresh our brand mix. And so the Nakkash 2.0 is not only about the e-commerce platform, which is a huge element to it. For example, we're dropping the word gallery from our branding because it was misleading. Our father is French educated. Galerie en français is not gallery in English.
Yeah.
And so
what will it be called?
Just Nakkash.
Nakkash.
And it's really from...
Nice. Mabruk.
Thank you.
Thank you. I like that.
The intersection between the service that we offer, which is the interior architecture, and the product. So, the word lifestyle is really thrown around a lot in terms of the brand positioning. But the intersection for us is like, for example, I mentioned my vinyl collection. I like to listen to music, right? What we want to do is be able to use this.
How serious are we talking? Like, is it a serious collection? Or?
It's in the high hundreds. It started off. I found a box of my mom's vinyls 10 years ago. I'm like, what is this treasure trove? It's like, this is from my college days. So that's how it started. And every time I travel, I like to buy records from the country that I travel in.
Amazing.
Ilmuhim, where were we?
Yeah.
When you listen to music.
No, so it's the intersection, really, is the word lifestyle, between creating a room that has good acoustics, that has a comfortable seat, that has a nice ambiance, So when you're listening to this music, you're sitting on a comfortable chair, right? And so really, this is the intersection that we're trying to create in this new Nakkash. So that involves a brand repositioning, a facelift to the branding, an e-commerce website, more of an omni-channel approach to how do we get our customer engaged in a brand, right? And how do we activate the space? And to answer your question about the e-commerce, I think the most important thing is that to really have it as a cyclical process. It's never ending. Like if you think competition in real life is difficult, online you're competing against the whole world. So
صح.
one aspect to it, it's just, what we want to do is institutionalize to a certain extent the family business while maintaining the family business value and feel. So that's Nakkash 2.0.
What are you selling? Are you selling taste? Are you selling a particular lifestyle? Are you selling your perspective on design? If I would ask you to, in one sentence, because it's always a nice way to think about a brand today.
Then with the new tagline.
Your tagline. I mean, what are you? If you take it, it's totally fine. I will not ask for anything.
We are selling Nakkash lifestyle.
Nakkash lifestyle. طيب, so can you go a bit deeper into what, in your point of view, is an Ash lifestyle? And then I want to hear from the kids because they may not have the same view. I'm going to call
They are the
family.
futures, Hashem.
I'm aware.
Yeah. They are much better than me and that one.
I don't think it's better or not. What I'm interested in is into how each of you thinks about that Ash lifestyle. So maybe we start with you.
So I think for us, it's when it first started, and our father would go to these fairs and source the furniture. Back in the day, he would also select what he thought would nice and what would be appealing to him and what would look nice in the showroom. Aesthetically. And he has the best eye, I think, in my humble opinion, in the market because he knows exactly how to pick and choose the different materials, the different colors, and put everything together.
Okay.
So that's his lifestyle. That's what the lifestyle he's trying to sell.
Yes.
But so when we came into the ball game, we still wanted to keep that, but still cater to the market. So you have to kind of go out there, see what's trending, see what's in demand. Also, consumer behavior has shifted over the years. So the way people now furnish their homes or their spaces, they like to be part of that process.
Yes.
At the time it was, okay, let me get somebody specialized in this because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yes.
But nowadays they're well-traveled, well-educated, they're more exposed, and they like to have this space in the house being like, I got this piece from when I was traveling in Bali, or I sourced this piece when I was in Latin America. And then my designer helped me put together, but I found it on Pinterest. This interior designers hate Pinterest, but customers, that's their source of inspiration, So the lifestyle we try to sell is, like Omar mentioned, he's into vinyl records. He likes to be sitting on a comfortable chair. I'm into wellness. I like a well-designed, comfortable flooring. So it's basically curating the lived experience.
Here's sorry to interrupt you. I'm just curious because your version of an Ash lifestyle, I can completely understand because it's your point of view, your eye, essentially, that you are representing. And it becomes very coherent because in your eye, it's very easy for you to know this works, this doesn't work. When you start transitioning into a more sort of customer facing, what do they like? The risk, and I'm telling you this from my own experience, is that you get lost, right? It becomes not coherent. I'm not saying this happened to you. I'm just bringing this out there, right? Where Aya thinks, well, we should have this, and that because that's currently trending. And Omar likes vinyl and he thinks part of that needs to be, and all of a sudden for the consumer, it's confusing because all of a sudden my eye is darting. Are you aware of this risk?
Definitely. I mean, you definitely can't cater to everybody.
It's both. Exactly. You become all things to all people potentially.
So people that come to Nakkash are looking for a specific style. And the way we go about it, like my father mentioned, is we try to curate the whole space. So when the customer walks in, he's like, I want this corner as is. I don't have to think of what lamp to match it with, what artwork will go well with this. So, and it's more of an eclectic theme.
Yeah.
And I think like I said, you cannot cater to everybody. So we kind of have our niche, but also you got to stay relevant.
We need to take that risk.
Yes,
We need to take that risk, and this is most of the tension that happens between us. Is
yeah,
I know
because
what
he's
works.
going with a timeless
Exactly.
view. This works, and my taste evolves in a certain way, but it's and you're saying no, we need to kind of push forward. There's a risk. It may be a very worthwhile risk to take, but it's a risk nevertheless.
Yeah, I think when he started the business, he was extremely talented, but he was also at the right place at the right time.
Yeah. And there was very little out there.
Exactly. So nowadays, it's the risk reward is a different calculation.
And your ability to stand out, anyone consumer, the ability to stand out is much harder. The noise factor is very high.
Yeah, طبعا.
Yeah, and to differentiate between good design and bad design, high quality, low quality, has become much harder because it's everywhere.
We try to be different than the other because the competition is very, very hard. A lot of showrooms now, a lot of interior designer. You have to be different. You have to be unique. But also you have to think about how much it will be in your pocket.
Yes, of course. It's a business.
That's a difficult formula to adjust.
Who do you have a big team that works with you day to day, or is just you? How do you operate typically?
The overall company is 32 people.
Okay, it's sizable.
We have an operation and we have a warehouse, so that's a big chunk of the people. We have an architect. We have we split it between outdoor and indoor departments. So yeah.
So is the gallery and the design studio collapsing into one? Are you folding them into one, an Ash sort of brand, or will you still have the studio and the gallery separately? We're just rebranding the gallery.
So interesting question, and it's an ongoing debate. But what we don't want, so to answer your previous question about what is the new Nakkash, my approach is I try to tackle the 3 C's in all of my projects, which is conceptual, creative, and comfortable. So whatever that means to your lifestyle, Hashem, whatever that means, like it's clear that you're in the F&B. So if we were come to design, your home, then we'd put a lot of the focus on the dining experience.
Yeah.
That being said, we don't want to be perceived as a design studio within a showroom. Because you have, for example, in Bloomingdale's Home, you have a design studio where they help you with the furniture selection and the furniture layout, but that's not what we do. We really create concepts, and we do architecture and interior architecture, and we do detailed design package and site supervision. Like it's a practice. We provide a service. So we don't want to be perceived as that. So it's an ongoing debate. I don't have the answer yet.
It's hard.
We might spin off the design studio into another brand, just because we're being nominated for awards and we're being in conversation.
Like you should, because I agree with you. If you're coming in from a, let's call it gallery perspective, and you look at a design studio from within that lens, you don't really you think of it sort of as an added service. You don't think of it as a proper design studio. But if I walk into a design studio, I'm thinking architecture, interiors, full design package. And there are 2 different parts of your brain, right, that you're going to.
Yeah.
If I'm starting a new restaurant, I might come to you as a design studio. But if I walk through your gallery and I don't know your brand, I will not. I may be coming for inspiration or to buy a piece of furniture. So it almost feels like they're separate.
Yeah, they most likely that's what's gonna happen.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're obviously still gonna have a design element to the Nakkash brand, right?
Of course. And in terms of managing, like your operations, you'd mentioned you have a big warehouse and so on. How do you manage your operational risk? Do you have an operations team? Because a lot of money goes into like buying these things, putting them in warehouses. You don't know if it's going to sell today or tomorrow in 5 years. How do you manage this side of the business, which is really not as creative and purely has to do with day-to-day ops and inventory control?
The logistic part.
Yes.
We have a warehouse. We have a manager looking after that with his team. Of course, looking after the inventory, looking after the delivery, customer services. This is a separate.
And is there value in having a lot of inventory today versus me coming to you liking something and maybe you tell me it takes 12 weeks, but at least you're not holding it?
We try to keep a big inventory.
You do?
Which is, not like before. Now
Okay.
it's much less.
Okay.
Because, the client here, they want to buy and to
They want
deliver
it now.
next day to his house. We have inventory, but we used to have bigger before.
It's interesting to have these conversations, and we have them quite often, as about like inventory turnover ratio.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
something that he never looked at before, because maybe he didn't need to, he wasn't taught, but he, so it's a very fine line.
Yes.
Between carrying stock and not carrying stock, and how much stock, and
especially for bulkier, heavy items. I relate to it from a small concept store with mostly accessories. It's a constant discussion. What is our par level? I mean, do I hold 5? Do I hold 15? If I only hold 5, will they still come back if I tell them 6 weeks, etc.? I don't know.
You have to know your client. Yeah, sometimes I purchase some items. I said, okay, this client will like it and he will take it. Of course, there is some pieces just because I love it. I want to display it in the showroom. Some pieces I bought it specifically for a certain client. Quantity-wise, you have to be careful. Especially the unique items, you cannot repeat it all the time.
Yes.
And I think by when we do our purchasing, we don't buy in bulk, because what they love about us is when they purchase the sofa or the dining table,
It's
they
somewhat
know
unique. Yeah.
exactly.
You don't wanna
they
have
know that they're
50.
not going to see it, and
Everybody's
the different
home.
exactly.
But you just said you have to know your market and your client. In a city like Dubai, where at least over the last couple of years, your client has, the city's landscape has completely changed in terms of the population.
It's a big canvas, yes.
How do you know your client? I mean, I can tell you openly, my client has changed drastically over the years. Today, if in the Palm, we have, I don't know, maybe 30 to 40% of our clients are Russian.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a Russian menu. So, like these kind of things, does it translate into your business as well?
Yes, the same in the furniture. Yeah, because the Russian test is different than the European test. It's more, you're right. Yeah. We'll try to please everybody.
Okay.
But not easy.
No,
especially when you want to keep some inventory, we'll try to manage to balance.
And when you don't know if this is transient or not, right? So you don't know. Are you getting mostly people that are coming to build homes and stay here and buying, or are they just transient? They're just looking to furnish something quickly to rent it. It's very confusing.
And for furniture, the timeline is much longer than for fashion or for food, the trends.
Yes, you're right.
It takes much longer to evolve. So yeah, we need to, the one constant thing is change, right? So, and this is what we're trying to introduce into, because what one constant with Wajih is nothing change.
Yes.
Nothing to change.
Do you see yourselves seeing this business long term as kind of, so you go into 2.0, do you envisage a 3.0 that gets past? Do you think of it sort of in these dynastic terms, or more like we have a job and let's see what happens the next 5 years?
I don't like, I would like to see the 3.0, not wait for the next generation. I think that's one of our biggest mistakes, is that we were so entrenched in what we did that we were a bit late to evolve. Like now your iOS is 16.61,
Yeah.
But on the same device. So inshallah, in 5 years, we can see the 3.0, and we need to keep.
But, I'm not 100% sure, right? Because when you think about it, go back to our earlier conversation. 10 years ago, when many of us thought Dubai was ready, for example, for collectible design, it wasn't. So sometimes change for just change's sake is not that advisable. Had you made certain changes then, very likely today it would have been turned out to maybe not be. It's very tough to know what the right time is, right?
There's always an advantage in hindsight.
Yeah.
but they don't need to be seismic changes.
Fair
You know,
enough.
like it could be smaller things. But I don't know if I just have a son now, a 1.5-year-old.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I doubt I would encourage him to be in a family business.
Why?
It's tough to see your father as a boss. There's some things that happen that you don't want your son to see,
صح.
you know,
صح.
and it's really hard to unsee.
Yes.
Like I wish I love my father, I love my boss,
Yes.
but
No, I think that's very wise.
yeah, and it's not necessary.
Yeah.
I feel.
What about you, Aya?
I mean, we definitely want to keep the heritage going. You know, it's a legacy, and it's an honor to be passed down this baton and take it forward.
Do you see your children? Would you want to, just to kind of echo what your brother is saying, would you want to see them involved in this business should they have an interest, or
If
you'd
they
rather
want
not?
to. I mean, I also have a 2-year-old, you know, so
Yes.
she's still very young and she loves football.
Yeah.
So
No,
at this
understood.
point,
But
I'm putting
saying
her in football camp.
hypothetically, I mean,
But
would you
hypothetically,
encourage it or discourage it?
I
Let's
would
put it this.
encourage it, but
You
I
would.
would also encourage her to work outside first.
Why would you encourage it out of curiosity?
Just to, you know,
Because your experience you feel was fulfilling? I mean,
we didn't get the experience of working outside,
صح.
you know, so I think that's really important for them. And, you know, she'll learn, she'll get, you know, get her hands dirty, تندعك, as we say بالعربي. And then, you know, if she wants to join, أهلا وسهلا. And if not, go do your own thing.
Okay.
So that's my 2 cents.
These are very wise words. Thank you very much. This was wonderful. I wish you all the best in your 2.0, and you have wonderful children. You should be, I'm sure you are very proud of them, as you should be.
Thank you very much.
And we will see you all, I'm sure, in Design Week and in the months to come, and we'll be following your journey.
Yeah, stay
Thanks for
tuned.
having
Thanks for
us.
having us, Hashem.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was great.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Lighthouse Conversations. I'm your host, Hashem Montasser. Our producer, Chirag Desai, and our content director is Farah Sharif. You can connect with us on Instagram at the Lighthouse_podcast for behind-the-scenes videos and more. And also, you can listen to all our previous episodes in your podcast app or at thelighthouse.ae/podcast. We'll see you again with a brand new episode in 2 weeks.